Hello, everybody. This is X Headed again. I'm your host, Zach Cooley, and it is an honor and a thrill to be here with Ganesh Lee, the drummer and lead singer of the amazing Yacht Rock Schooner band. Thank you for being with me this morning, Ganesh. It's an honor to talk with you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, and you gave me an amazing show. Gave all of us in Wytheville at the Millwald Theatre on March 28th. Gave us all an amazing show. I knew it was going to be good because it is the kind of stuff that we uh, both enjoy. Kenny Loggins, Hall & Oates, Michael McDonald, that kind of thing. But my goodness, I knew it was going to be good, but you blew my socks off, man.
Oh, man. Thank you. It's very kind of you.
You and the whole group. It was very interesting from the moment that all of you walked on stage. Every one of you carried yourself like you could do the show by yourself, and everybody's individual talents proved that they could do a show by themselves, but collectively you all were on fire, and that it was an unbelievable show. And I have to add that I would not have been there had you not been generous, and I just happened to have my aunt came in from Raleigh. She grew up here, and like me, she grew up going to the Millwald Theatre as a movie house. The movie house was a big part of her teenage years and childhood years, and now to see it as a full production house. She read my press release that came out in the paper about Yacht Rock Schooner coming to the Millwald, and she said, "I would love to go see that. Um, would you like to go see that?" And I said, "Well, I think I can get us some tickets, but I'm not sure." So I called you, and you so generously let us in at the last minute, and thank you for that. What a gift you gave me, because I turned 40 3 days before that show, and you gave me a great gift in the show, but you also showed me that I could still be cool at 40 years old, and if I'm a fraction as cool as you were, I'm set for life. I
Man,
mean,
oh, man.
no, I
Well, and it's good that you, acknowledge the other players because, honestly, Zach, I have to acknowledge those players. They're so fantastic, and they, very much so has carried, a thing on their own. Cleveland and Brenda are established artists in their own right. Brenda's an established actress and jazz vocalist, and
yeah.
Cleveland doesn't do that much acting anymore, but they both have. Everybody's so seasoned. I guess that's what happens when you get to be our age.
hmm Well, Cleveland and Brenda, who are your, I mean, he, you started the show with Nights on Broadway, and he has, the captain hat that some of the people in the audience were wearing the captain hat, and we'll come back to that in a minute. But Cleveland, it was the male singer, and then you had Brenda, who was the female singer. You open with the Bee Gees' Nights on Broadway, and he starts that off, and you know from that first second, oh, this is not going to be your typical tribute show. It was not the Bee Gees song when he sang that first note. It was Cleveland's song, and he had this Bill Withers vibe to what he sang. And it just
Yeah.
he took those songs to a whole new level. And then talk about taking songs to a whole new level. Brenda as soon as she comes on, she's got that she doesn't have that growl in her voice like Tina Turner, but the swagger that she has as soon as she comes on stage, it was definitely a Tina Turner vibe. I'm gonna come on stage and run the show, and
yeah, she's got a lot of Eartha Kitt vibes.
absolutely.
She was in the recent documentary, or I guess biopic about Aretha Franklin. Brenda Nicole was in that movie as one of her sisters.
In the Jennifer Hudson film?
Yeah.
You're kidding. Oh, that's amazing. I'm going to go back and watch that.
Dig that up, and so like I said, their bona fides are, I just feel lucky to be able to run with guys like that and with players like that.
I watched that movie. Do you know which sister she was?
Now you got me. I can't remember all of their names. I have to look into it.
I mean, that was that blows me away, but I'm not surprised because she gave Stevie Nicks and Christy McVie the soul they wish they had. Honestly, she put the soul into it, and my favorite, the only Carly Simon song that I really, really have played more than once is You Belong to Me, and I'm fairly certain that's because she wrote it with Michael McDonald. And when she sang that song the way I think it ought to be sung, the way I think it should have been sung to begin with, and brought half the crowd to their feet when she did that. That was a show highlight, her doing that.
Yeah, she really leaned into it. And we've always liked that song. Our sax player, Jordan Shallop, really pushed to add that song. Obviously there's a great, on the studio track with Carly Simons, this great David Sanborn solo.
Yes.
Who he's the legend.
Right.
And he was like, let's do this arrangement. And I was very used to the one that's on maybe Minute by Minute,
right?
The Doobie Brothers version,
right?
Which is really significantly different than the Carly Simon version. Even the lyrics are different.
Yeah.
But it's a really cool song, and it's just turned into this kind of power moment for her.
It definitely was a power moment, and definitely was a show pinnacle. But let's talk about now some show pinnacles for me. Personal show pinnacles for me. As you know, I'm wheelchair bound. I was born with cerebral palsy, and music has always been my escape. Pretending to be the rock star I never could be. Wanting to have, I wanted a set of drums when I was 5 years old, so that I could be like Phil Collins, even though I couldn't hold a stick in my hand. But my parents bought me a set anyway, and there's this one picture of me in front of the drums trying to hold a stick, and that's as close as I ever got to playing them. But I had wonderful parents that encouraged me in every way, even if I couldn't do it exactly. So I'm always watching the drummer, because obviously hand-eye coordination is a thing that I struggle with. So I'm watching you, and you're very polished on the drums. You don't miss a beat. I'm watching your feet. Your feet never step off the rhythm, and you're doing all that. And then I noticed that a song's playing and Cleveland's not singing, Brenda's not singing. So where's the singing coming from? And I look over, and you're singing it. So you have to concentrate on singing the song, singing it on key. Don't miss a step with the drums. Don't lose the rhythm. Don't lose the beat. and get all the notes on the drums right. How can you handle all that in one fell swoop?
Well, it was it was a long process to get where I could do all those things at once.
Right.
But playing any instrument and singing is really challenging. They all have their different independence challenges. And like we have this, like if I get caught with a little too much to do, sometimes I'll flub something, and we call it, or the struggle, we call it doing math. It's like, oh, I can see you doing some math, because it's like,
right,
like there are, and like the polish is really subjective, because it's like, to you it seems really polished, and to me all I hear is mistakes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh wow, that was, it didn't mean to do that. Oh wait, that's the words. And just like, so it's like, it's very much a thing where I wasn't naturally good at it, and I just really dug in really hard when I was a kid, just because I really liked to do it. But I came up doing both things kind of separately. I couldn't play drums until I was a bit older, because my dad was ill when I was a child. And so, it was like, we didn't want the noise in the house. So I played trumpet for the first 10 years or whatever. And then I kind of took up drums out of sheer cussedness, because I still wanted to play drums ever since I was a kid.
Right.
And me and my brother used to listen to Rush records in the house. My sister, would always introduce us to cool music. And, we heard the Beatles and Rush and Styx and a lot of the bands that were popular then from her, and Earth, Wind and Fire and Kenny Loggins from my mom and my dad, and, stuff like that. But yeah, it's very much a learned thing. Like what you see is like daily practice for 40 years.
For 40 years.
Yeah.
So then, without asking your age, I guess it is, because you look 25 up there, man. Now, granted, I was in the back of the house, but
you just got yourself free admission to shows for life.
Well, you're very kind, but and believe me, I'll take you up on them. You'll regret saying that, because
not at all. Hey, listen, and we're out here trying to reach people. We're trying to connect with people that love the music and love seeing live music. And it's like I can't. It's like in each town there's an opportunity to get to know somebody that's friendly and welcoming you into their town, like yourself.
Yeah. And
build a relationship that just doesn't really doesn't have an expiration date. You just have, now you got a friend in Wytheville, and you can check up with them a couple times a year. It's great. You can have friends everywhere. And it is, I'm really happy that we were able to, and will be able to, let you be a guest at the shows. I'm glad that the theater can accommodate you. Mm-hmm. One of my dearest friends in the world has cerebral palsy. Mm-hmm. And, I hang out with her all the time. And so a little bit aware of some of the challenges that go with that. And, but you guys love to go out and see music. And, so I do the same things with her, there's a local venue that make sure that everybody has a place to be and that can see the show and, are taken care of.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it was so much more than a show for me, and I'm so glad you said that about the connection between us, because I was fortunate enough to interview you last year. I was not able to attend the show, but I was fortunate enough because my driver pulled out on me last minute, and that's happened to me so many times. You spend $100 a piece on a ticket, and the driver says, "Oh, I can't go," and then you're stuck with 2 tickets that you can't refund or sell or anything. That has happened to me so many times. I could probably go to Disney World on the tickets I've lost that way.
And it's not like you can call a Lyft or an Uber.
Right.
It's like it's more complicated.
Right.
It's,
Exactly.
it's kind of a jerky move on the driver.
Yeah.
But, sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is. But I'm glad you mentioned the connection between us because I was fortunate enough to interview you last year for the paper and for the show that you did, and I felt an immediate connection to you. And even though we've never met in person, you are somebody that has become very special to me, and I see now why. Because you say one of your best friends has cerebral palsy, and I get it now. Because it's like, okay, you connect on a level that few people can connect. Because if you haven't been there and haven't seen it and haven't broken through the proverbial elephant in the room when you're talking to a disabled person, because people don't know, how do I approach, what do I say, and when the answer to that is you talk to them just like you would talk to anyone else. There's no special protocol.
Like that's very much the case with my other friend too. Actually, it's in terms of like friends I get rowdy with, she's one of the rowdiest ones. We get into some trouble, and it's fun. It's like, but people are like, they're intimidated by all the, the things that look different.
Right. And I'm very fortunate that I pray that I will not spend my life in an institution. I'm very fortunate that I have a wonderful wife who devotes so much of her life to me, and we have a very perfect 10-year-old girl. She might be a little mouthier, than I would like sometimes, because she's 10 going on 14. But just a perfect little girl, and spoiled rotten, but full of spunk. She came to the show, and and actually. And
well, I didn't say anything off color, did I?
No, you did not. You did not.
Sometimes we get a little snarky on the mic, but that's just our sense of humor.
No, you held it together very well. I did want to ask you what you were drinking, because it looked very fruity and tropical.
What the heck was I drinking? Wait, let me. So many drinks.
You had it was something with an orange in it.
It was a local brew, I think, that I got from the concession stand.
Okay.
The big giant 24-ounce, but it was whatever the local IPA was. And I found it was delightful, and I had several.
Okay.
It was very fun.
All right. Very cool. All right. Because it looked like something real fruity and tropical. I didn't know if it was a beer or what, but yeah.
It was bright orange, and I do believe it was garnished with an orange. Like, I guess you do that with some beers, but everybody was really having a good time. The Millwald is a gorgeous theater, and it's got some cool vibes. There was even a playful ghost that was messing with my phone throughout the show.
No way, really?
So, you might have to check with Susie if we can include this, but she's a stage manager over there.
Right.
And awesome, by the way. Their whole staff.
Susie is one of the coolest people on the planet. That is for sure.
Yeah, she's awesome. So she's like telling us that, that there's a playful spirit that lives in the theater, she thinks, and kind of told us a couple stories of why she thought that. So I was like, oh, okay. And then, sure enough, like during the show, it just started like taking over the camera on my phone. It took like 50 pictures. It would like flip the camera around and like unlock my phone and then lock my phone. And like I used that phone to for a metronome, like click track.
Right.
And so I have an app that just drives a click for every show that I do. And so that was a very distracting thing.
Yeah.
I'd be in the middle of a song and I hear the phone going, just taking pictures. And I'm like, I look down and then it's locked. And I have it set where the display never goes to sleep. Like you literally have to press a button to lock it.
Mm-hmm.
So
Did it take any selfies? Did you get any What do you?
Unfortunately, no. Even though I really pored over all the screenshots and whatnot that I left in my phone for orbs and stuff, but there was nothing there. It was I think it was a playful spirit, and I also, having had some experience with these things, managed to convince it to leave me alone after some time.
Yeah, you have to cleanse yourself. Now, I've not had any personal experiences myself, but my wife is a tremendous empath, and my daughter is a tremendous empath, and they have to oftentimes, say, okay, this is fun, but if she starts feeling pain, it's like, okay, we're done here. I can't help you with whatever you need. So,
that's a pretty clear line. You have to tell them, hey, listen, stop.
Right. I remove myself from this, absolutely. But I've not had any experience there, but I have no doubt with that being that building with the history built in 1927 that there would be something there. I'm just glad it's a warm, welcoming spirit. It
was certainly playful and did not seem to be all that aggravated, but a little goes a long way.
Doesn't it, though? But, yes, I'm glad you mentioned the connection, but because I've never met you face-to-face, which I will do someday soon, because I know you'll be returning to the Millwald. You must.
Of course.
We will meet in person one day, but I feel like, I certainly hope that I can call you a friend, because you certainly have been very, very kind to me. And like I said, when we talked last year and you were telling me about opening for Kenny Loggins, I've been doing this for 20 years, and that was one of the most exciting interviews that I've ever done. So,
man, thank you.
I just enjoyed it.
Well, we had a nice summer out with Train and REO Speedwagon this summer. And I don't know if your listeners know that I'm also one of the drummers that Yacht Rock Review uses.
Right.
And so I toured with them this summer. We were opening for Train and REO Speedwagon. We did about 45 shows, and that was really cool. Big production situation, like 10 tour buses and 12 tractor trailer rigs full of stuff and the whole nine.
That's huge.
And it was really fun, and just like did a totally different thing. Never done something like that before. Maybe won't get to again, but this summer we're out under our own auspices once again. It's been like 3 years since we've done it on our own, and we're back to playing, some smaller venues like in some theaters that like the old days. So it's really fun. We're like getting into new markets, even with that band again, going to Beaver Creek, Colorado, and some other cool places in Texas that we haven't been before.
Very cool. And I gotta give it to my Wytheville crowd. I love Wytheville, the greatest people in the world, the only place in the world that could accept me and give me the opportunities it's given me in my 40 years of living here. But they are not the greatest audience. They're very pitter-patter, polite applause and that type thing. And unfortunately, your show wasn't the sellout it should have been. But that crowd, they gave it to you like it was a packed house. They were
sweet.
They were a great crowd, and hopefully they were good enough that you'll come back. Because I'm telling you.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm telling you, because I said, we love Kenny Loggins, of course. I drove, my mother had the cassette of the Top Gun soundtrack, and I made her absolutely despise Danger Zone for many times that I played it. And so beyond that, This Is It is one of my favorite Kenny Loggins songs. And then when I saw Kenny Loggins in 2009, he did not do one of my favorites, which is Heart to Heart. And I had talked to you the night before the show, and I said, you got some Kenny Loggins in there, and you said, you know it. And so I kept waiting, and well, let me back up a little bit. You did no, I saw that No Can Do was in the set list, Hall and Oates, which is one of my favorite dance tunes of all time. So you did that one, and you did Daryl Hall's vocal amazingly while you were on the drums, and that song is all about the drum beat there, and you did that perfectly. And I said, well, that was the song of the night. They're not going to top themselves. And then you go from there, and you go right to Heart to Heart. And when you did Heart to Heart, I just thought, I told Bella, I said, be quiet. This is my favorite song here. Don't, you know. And man, Kenny has two levels of singing. He has the breathy tenor that kind of glides, like a reed or something. It's absolutely beautiful. And then he has that really soulful growl. And he does both of those things in that song, and you did those things perfectly while not missing a beat on the drums. And I said, once I found out that you could sing and play the drums as well as you did, I thought, well, if Ganesh doesn't sing this one when Heart to Heart started, I said, if Ganesh doesn't sing this one, I'm gonna cry. But so I'm glad. So, boy, did you deliver on those two songs. You could have just done those two, and I would have been happy with the night. And so we get to those two, and then I think the only thing that could top this off is if with that saxophone player the way he was, and you've described Jordan Shallop as the blunt force trauma of the band, and he was. My aunt got in the car and she said that is the hottest sax player I think I've ever seen, both by looks and his ability. I mean,
we think so. We think so too.
He's
very hot.
Yeah, he was spot. Even my 10-year-old, who's boy crazy. God help me. I hope I have enough friends out there to help me keep the guns clean. She said, yeah, he was cute. I like it, And so I said the only thing they could do to top the show would be to do Baker Street, and it was the last song before the encore. Somebody shouts out Baker Street, and you said, man, that is so weird because you were getting ready to play it, and boy, did he! I mean, it's the most iconic sax solo in music history, with the possible exception of Bob Seger's "Turn the Page." But when
he loves for that one too.
Yeah,
he loves it. Sometimes if it's not on the list, he will grab me and say, "Hey, we got to play Baker Street."
Right.
Like, yes, sir.
Yeah,
we'll
because
play Baker Street now.
Well, that shows his abilities off more than anything, and man, did he deliver on that one! Oh my goodness, my mother came from Myrtle Beach for my birthday, and she left to go back home the day before the show, and she was really jealous when she heard that we'd been to Yacht Rock, and he had done Baker Street, because that's one of her very favorite songs, and that sax solo that makes it. That was Jerry Rafferty's piece de resistance, in my opinion.
That's a great record from top to bottom.
Yes.
Oddly, my young son went through a Jerry Rafferty phase, and so now I know a lot more about Jerry Rafferty than I used to. But that whole record is fantastic.